Welcome into episode 49 of JD's Empire Sports Talk with Biggie. A month in already. I am completely shocked that it went this quick.
I know.
Biggie, man, how this is crazy that we're already a month in. When we originally started planning this out, I don't think we would have gotten this far in our heads, but we're still
we are here.
We're here and we're doing. I think we're just improving every time, which is something
I
we
agree.
said last week. It just feels like we're working good together. Sports is in a good place. Maybe not for a little while after this week, but
Yeah.
3 champions were crowned from the last time we spoke, and we said that pretty much our guesses or predictions, we should say, we're right, kind of spot on in terms of the NHL, definitely, which we'll get to. NBA, we kind of felt the same way. It just didn't go originally as planned, but
Yeah.
it did. And then the College World Series, so that was the 3rd champion, which we'll get into a little bit as well. That was a heck of a World Series, but we'll start with the NBA. Before we get into it, Biggie, you have anything you want to, I know you're going to let loose in a little while. I'm very excited.
Yeah, and you know what's funny? It's nothing like, it is sports related, obviously, but it's something personal to me and personal to what I do. Like, if anyone of my viewers from TJ Productions is watching, something that we do on the channel, something that happened this past week.
Yeah, and when it hits you personally, it bothers you. It just ticks you off a little more when you're the person that's dealing with the situation. But we'll get into that later as well. We don't want to spoil his chalk moment, but I think everyone should be very excited to hear this. This might be the first crash out of the JD and Biggie collab. So I thought it would definitely be me first, but this is
no.
This is definitely all you tonight. But we'll start with the NBA. So the NBA is now over. The NHL is over for a little bit, of course, and the NBA, of course, for a few months. And college sports have a low period, so it's kind of a little bit of a dead zone in terms of sports besides baseball.
Yep.
But last night, the Thunder were crowned champion, which is something we all thought would happen before this series started. But let me tell you, this was one of the series that all time. Besides, I know last night was a little. Things happened that kind of took away from the game.
Yeah.
But I think this series stacks up as one of the all-time best NBA finals. It was the first finals to get to a Game 7 in, I think it was 10 years or so, something like that, when LeBron
that's crazy.
and the Cavs came back. A very long time. 10 years in sports is an eternity. Think of
it really is, especially for something like that, like going to a Game 7. Yeah,
exactly. And usually when 2 teams meet up in the championship, they're pretty much evenly, competitive. And those other finals, not so much, but this one really was one of the most competitive NBA Finals that happened in a long, long time. I think we should start with just Game 7, just a recap of what happened last night. The elephant in the room, of course, is something we can't any longer not talk about.
Yeah.
Tyrese Halliburton, who was definitely injured. Of course, we all know that he had a calf
Yeah.
strain. But usually, like we said last week, calf strains happen first, and then Achilles are
Yeah.
usually second, which is we're
Yep.
not. We don't
And
want to.
unfortunately, that was the case last night when he went down.
Yeah, and it's just so unfortunate. Like I listen, as me as a Knicks fan, like obviously I don't like the Pacers, but for a guy
Mhm.
that talented, you saw how much his playoff run meant to him when he went down on the court. He knew. Listen, like of course he got injured in the moment. You're like, oh, I just got injured. Like
Yeah.
what am I gonna do now? But it wasn't just his own self. He's just a team guy, and like he thought of, okay, now I'm done. My team is in the middle of Game 7. This is a do or die game. Something he was able to push himself through for the last 2 or 3 games. When we kind of knew in the beginning of the series when he had like his Game 2 interview and he couldn't even like get off the stage pretty much. That kind of was a telltale sign, I think. And then it just progressively got worse. And then the calf was super tight. When the calf's
Yeah.
super tight, it travels down. And Halliburton, we're not gonna make fun of physique, but he got like chicken wing legs pretty much for the most part.
Yeah.
So it was not bound to happen. But think about this first. I want to. I don't know if you realize this is last year he was on the Olympic team from the summer, and then
Yep.
they also made the conference finals. So think about all the basketball he's played since last year's playoffs till now. The guy has played pretty much. I
You're
mean,
around.
it's yeah, literally. Besides what a 2 month span,
Yeah.
the Olympics ended in
Not
August.
everyone's doing that.
No, and it's tough. Like I know he didn't have playing time in the Olympics, but still being on the team, any action he did get, practicing against the best of the best. You obviously in those practices they weren't messing around. Like
Yeah,
they were really
no.
trying to go at each other because that competition for them was them. Like literally that entire Olympics for the most part. So that they were gonna test each other. And then he only had like 2 months off. He came back. He played, of course, in October all the way to now. Like the playoffs are so grueling
I
plus the
know.
82 games that you got through, man. Biggie, I just wanted to ask you, like, so now I know we'll talk about this in a little bit in terms of the Pacers, but like, what does this mean for Halliburton? Because he's a very young player, we get that.
Yeah.
But also guys that suffer this injury, it takes them so long to come back to what they were. Because Halliburton can not only score, he can play defense, he can pass, he can do everything that's needed, and he meant so much to this Pacers team. And when you saw when he went down, they were able to keep it together for like a quarter, quarter and a half, but the second
Yeah,
half
but it
they had no
wasn't the
chance,
same. It
right?
absolutely was not the same. And it sucks to see someone like that for your team go down. And I feel for him because you get all the way to Game 7, and like you said, well-rounded player, team guy, and you go down in the early minutes. Really, they're kind of early in Game 7, and
Yeah.
like you said, the Pacers held on for a little bit, but ultimately Oklahoma City came around and won that title. But I think the future is still okay for him. I don't think this is obviously going to be a longer recovery. And the Pacers, I don't think are going to suffer too much because again, like you said, they still hung in with Oklahoma City and they took the series to a Game 7. Like, you know what I mean? So Indiana, I think, is going to be fine going forward. Halliburton, it's going to be some time for him. But again, he's a young player and he's a very skilled player. So I think, with the good amount of time of recovery, he should be fine to go, whenever that is. It could be some time, but I think I think his future is okay.
Okay, I guess that for any Pacer fan watching, probably not, but it's okay.
Now, the Pacers fans are probably, on top of losing the championship, you
Yeah,
have that happen. You're probably thinking the worst, which again, I would too. Don't get me wrong. If that was my team, I absolutely would. But I think the Pacers will be okay.
yeah, it's just gonna take some time for them, and Halliburton definitely out for next season because of how late this injury
Yeah.
happened. There's no
Mhm.
chance, and even if he did, I would not rush it because there's no point. And the odds of them making the championship again next year not likely, just because the NBA for the last 7 years has had a different champion pretty much for the most part, and a team that loses in the championship is usually a different team. So it's gonna be tough for them to get back to the spot. As much as we want to say the Eastern Conference is wide open, which is one of our topics in a little bit, it's going to be very, very difficult for them to get back to this point. But as an
Yeah.
overall series, it showed how resilient this team was and how resilient Halliburton was. And this is
Yes.
something that I think we have to root for and just root for in general. Because Halliburton, underdog type player, pretty much he said his whole life. Didn't really get recruited out of high school. Went to Iowa State, which is not considered anything really for
Right,
basketball.
like
Like
a
good
basketball
program,
school. Yeah.
yeah, good program, but nothing like where they're gonna produce like pro after pro after pro. Like if you think of
Right.
Duke, Kentucky, and they're not doing that. Then he got drafted to the Kings. Kings didn't want him anymore, so that shows his first team in the pros that he played for didn't want him. Pacers like, you know what? This is a guy that can embody not only our team but like the entire fan base and everything. Just
Mhm.
that entire roster. Like Siakam was a guy that the Raptors didn't want anymore.
Yeah.
Think of TJ McConnell, perfect example of
Yeah,
that.
I was gonna say McConnell's a good example of that. I know that from being, a not a Sixers fan, but around a
Like
lot of Sixers fan and being in Sixers
exactly.
country. I know that.
Yeah,
you
like
know?
he's one of those guys as well, 100%. There's so many guys on that team that were doubted their entire playing career, and they got
Yeah.
to this point. It means a lot to them. Like that's why last night after that game, they were so just like dejected, just because they knew they got to what they can get to, and they just didn't get it done. And you never know.
Yeah.
With that game last night, Halliburton had 9 points in 7 minutes, and he goes the rest of that game. He could have had a legendary run in that. Not only that game, but he would be considered one of like the guys forever if he can get
Yeah.
that team to win. And it's just so unfortunate. But the Thunder, on the other flip side of this, Thunder, they're here, and then I don't think they're leaving anytime soon. Honestly, just
No, they're gonna keep that train rolling for a while.
oh my God, that team had the talent on the team, the front office, the head coach. They have so many draft picks. Still, I don't know how they even managed
Yeah,
to do that.
they're gonna be good for a while. Oklahoma City Thunder are gonna be a top NBA team for some time, let me tell you. Wow.
And
They really did it right. And it's that's a
yeah,
trust the process type thing there because they were especially after Westbrook got traded, they were down bad.
oh yeah, they had like
Like
I
really
think
bad.
it was either 2 or 3 years ago. They only had 22 wins on the year, and
Yeah.
after this whole thing is over now, from regular season combined with playoff wins, they came away with 84. So think
Which
of
is
60,
amazing.
insane, and they lost 14 in the regular season. I don't know off
Mhm.
the top of my head how many they lost in the playoffs, but they probably ended up in the 20s with losses on the year. So I
Yeah.
mean, 80 something wins compared to 20 something losses. That just shows like what this team's all about. SGA, when you have an MVP on your team, MVP of the
Yeah.
regular season, MVP of the finals, something
Yep.
that doesn't happen a lot.
Nope.
I forget the exact
Another
stat,
rare
but
moment like we talked about Hellbuck last week with the NHL.
yeah, yeah,
It's like the
winning the
same thing,
yeah,
similar.
exactly. It's just insane how good this is for the Thunder, and they came a long way, like we just said, and it just means a lot for their organization because we said it. Actually, you said it perfectly before this series started. I think it was that first episode, if I remember right, was two teams that don't think the fans of the NBA wanted in the finals, but they got there anyway, and it's two
Yeah,
small markets. And a small
it
market
was.
winning a championship means so much to the city, and you can see it. That fan base, I have to. I don't want to. Just because they won and it's in our head now, but they have to be top five fan base in all of sports, in my opinion. What do you think about that? Think about
That
like
yeah, I have to
after
agree.
this.
And like that's a dedicated fan base. Like those smaller market teams, they're just, like their fans are second to none, I think. If you were to rank like in all sports, this is for hockey, basketball, football, baseball. The smaller market teams usually have the best fan bases. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? They're smaller, don't get me wrong, but they're the most passionate because they stick with the team. You know what I mean? They're the ones that stick through it all. And yeah, so I agree. Oklahoma City, especially now with that championship, I'd say they're one of the best fan bases in the NBA.
Oh, without a doubt. And like you're just saying, with this small market, in terms of their teams, like not every small market has four teams. Like you know what I mean? Like we're
Right.
very lucky to have the teams we have, and it's because where we live. But like not every place is like that. They don't have like
No,
whatever sport
especially
you
the
want.
Midwest. Like that, you
Exactly.
look at that. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why it means so much to them. And same thing would happen for the Pacers if they would have won. It would have meant that much to that.
Oh, yeah. It would have been the same deal. Absolutely.
Yeah, 100%. And yep, the finals is over now. So, but the news is still trickling in the NBA because the NBA is one of those sports that no matter what time of the year it is, news is always happening. So we have three other topics we should get to here. The first one, something we talked about for the last 2 or 3 weeks, and I'm very happy it happened finally for us.
Finally, yeah, we've been talking about it for a month now.
Yeah, literally, we've been talking about it for a month, saying any day now, any day now. People were probably starting to think that we were crazy, but thankfully, Kevin Durant was traded to the Houston Rockets. Something that we talked about last week of two teams that he should go to, and one of them he hit, and it was the Rockets for Jalen Green, Dylan Brooks, the 10th overall pick, and 5 second rounders. So it was a lot, but also KD provides so much to them, like I alluded to last week. And also, Jalen Green was somebody who I don't think that would have fit with Kevin Durant because he's a point guard that can't really shoot too well. And Kevin Durant needs a point guard that can shoot because Kevin Durant's going to handle the ball a lot. And something I said last week was the Rockets need the top, like the alpha type player. And this is exactly what Durant is.
Yeah. So definitely a big fit for him for sure. I think it's probably like we talked about it last week. This was probably the best fit for him. You said that, didn't you?
Yeah, I actually did. I was so happy. I was like, "Oh, thank God!"
Yeah. But yeah, you wouldn't think KD at this age is still a very good player, but he really is. You know what I mean?
He really
I know
is.
Phoenix Suns fans weren't happy that he was gone.
Yeah, and that whole situation is just so weird. I don't know how they didn't have much success just because he was terrific. Like you look at his numbers have not dropped off since the beginning of his career. Like I know injuries and all that happened, but it has not really dropped at all.
No, not at all.
I can't believe that he's still at this level, and he's up there in age. So it's gonna be fascinating to see how he works with a bunch of young guys. And I thought the one player I should say, because honestly, 10th overall pick. If you're the Rockets, are you really gonna use that player that much this year? Probably not. So I feel like that's something that you don't need to worry about. Jalen Green, like I already said about him. Dylan Brooks, though, he's one of those type of players you think of in the NBA, whatever team that you like or whatever. A glue guy like a Josh Hart, a Draymond Green, anybody that comes to mind like that, that's a Dylan Brooks for the Rockets. So it's going to be curious to see if they go out there and get somebody to replace that production or they just don't have a guy like that, which is very tough for teams to win. Like the Thunder, it's an Alex Caruso. We saw how good he was.
Yeah, I was just going to say Alex Caruso, maybe.
Yeah, and like we just said, second shout out for TJ McConnell. He's a glue guy for the Pacers. There's so many of those type of players for the good teams, and he's gone now, Dylan Brooks. So it's curious to see what the Rockets will do with that. Honestly, we'll see what happens. But for Rocket fans, they should definitely be excited. They were the 2 seed this year without an alpha type player, and now KD's gonna be on a mission as well. We're gonna definitely monitor that one. And definitely an NBA title favorite for sure. Like this is
they have to be now. Absolutely.
Yeah. And then other Rockets move, head coach Ime Udoka signed an extension as well. So that was someone that was rumored. The Knicks tried to reel in for an interview. They got denied. Door shut right in their face. Because why would you let this guy go?
That happened with mostly everyone, though.
Yeah. Exactly. They're like 0 for 6 or 0 for 7 at this point. But Udoka, I know he had his situation with the Celtics that we're not going to get into again, but he's earned his right to be a coach again, and he's had success for the most part with the Rockets, built the team the way he wants to. But the Rockets, the one thing that they do have a question mark is now Jalen Green's gone. They have Fred VanVleet, who is a traditional point guard, but is also owed $45 million, and it's a team option. So I wonder if they take that $45 million and be like, you know what? You're not worth that much, and we're going to go in free agency and perhaps bring back a certain someone, James Harden. That's a very interesting thing to watch out.
Out of the picture.
That's something that people should think about. Really, Kevin Durant, James Harden, they teamed up in Brooklyn. They're close. So we know that whole situation in Brooklyn. We know that whole situation in Brooklyn was with Kyrie was a huge problem with that. And
that was a big failure.
I enjoyed every second of that, bro.
That was probably good for you.
I enjoyed every second of that because they wanted to go to the little brother of the town and it didn't work out for them, which is very, very nice. But Harden can definitely be a possibility. I'm not even just saying him, but like the VanVleet getting $44 million, I think is a little too much. He's not that good, so they should definitely consider that. But speaking of guys maybe going to other teams. The NBA draft is Wednesday night. So the NBA just ended last night, and they're still going to be in the news for another week or two. Big draft coming up. A lot of talented players. Of course, Cooper Flagg is the highlight. That guy is insane.
Unreal.
He had a phenomenal freshman season at Duke. Mavericks came away with the first pick, which I don't know. The NBA might be rigged. You didn't hear it from me, but it might be just because of the way that went. We'll keep those opinions to ourselves, I guess. But Cooper Flag, can he be like one of the best players? I know it's so hard to say because he hasn't played that, but can he be that type of guy? Because we haven't seen. I feel the past few years a first overall pick be that guy.
Going to say that was the exact point I was going to bring up. We have not seen that in the NBA at all. Like who has done that in the last couple of years? Has been actually living up to that first overall pick status? Who has?
Really, not anyone I could think of off the top of my head. Let's pull it up here.
We thought Zion Williamson was the next LeBron.
That's what I was going to say. That he was at this much hype, but he didn't. He hasn't done it.
Both Duke players too. It's that Duke.
Yeah.
Listen, that's just a Syracuse fan talking in me. Duke is really good. I will always hate Duke, but
Yeah. I mean, rightfully so. But let's see. I'm going to pull up the first overall picks for the recent years, and we'll go through.
Let's say we got to get a fact check on this because we can be spewing, wrong information here. But from what I can remember,
no, you're totally right. Like think off the top of your head, like not a lot of guys. Oh, Wembanyama, that's a guy that he's been living up to the billing for the most part. But has he been a number one overall pick?
No,
don't think so. Last year, Zachary Richardson, not really that. Like he would probably in this draft be in the teens. Last year's draft stunk as a whole, so that explains it. 2022.
I mean, you want to look at any sport, really. Who has like there's obviously some definite examples, but that's not really a common thing that happens. You know what I mean?
No. Yeah. Like
I think you see it mostly in football.
Yeah, because
see it mostly in football. Yeah, usually.
Exactly. And maybe the one guy we can think of recently, 2020, Anthony Edwards, he's been a stud for the most part.
Yeah, he's been pretty good. Yeah.
Well, you're definitely right though. I like that point a lot, just because there's been talent, but not to what
no one living up to the exact amount of hype that they've been given. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah, 100%. And the one thing I wanted to also ask you about was there's of course a bunch of teams that have a chance at improving a lot. So it's a two-parter, right? The one I have in the notes is what specific player do you want to go to a specific team? That can also be a trade. I was
just going to get into that, like possible trades that we can see during the draft, because there is one guy that may be traded, and we've talked about it every week, and the NBA draft might be the night that it happens. What do we think? You know who I'm talking about.
I know exactly what you're talking about, and it depends what team. I should say that. That's I think that the most important situation. Of course, we're talking about Giannis Antetokounmpo, and the important thing to evaluate on that is I love how you brought this up. This is a perfect opportunity. So it depends what team he goes to, because there's going to be a team or teams that are very interested. He may not be interested, of course, so he's going to deny it. And then there's also teams that don't have the capability. Like Knicks, that don't have the capability of making a trade on draft night because they don't have the assets to do that. They're gonna have to wait a little bit. That's the thing to watch out.
Yeah, and I think if Giannis is going to get traded, it's going to happen on draft night. So any of those teams that have to wait, they're not going to get him. This is an act fast thing. I'm surprised it hasn't happened yet for how much it's talked about. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I like that, but I also think. To come back at you a little bit I think the Durant trade had to happen first for this to happen. That's
a good point. Mm-hmm.
I think that's why I know Desmond Bain has nothing to do with Kevin Durant and Giannis, but that type of trade had to happen for KD to happen. It's a domino effect. We know.
Yeah, I was gonna say because these are the trades everyone's talking about, and those like you said, domino effect. Exactly. Everything has to happen in order there.
Exactly, because that's just the way the league is, and just kind of sets a bar. It's like, okay, KD was traded for this much, Giannis is going to be for this much and more, obviously, because Giannis is younger and more talented.
Yeah, more the other years.
But the other question I had for you was, so if it's not a trade, what maybe potential draft prospect do you want to see? Just like what fit maybe, like do you like him to go to? Because I have one off the top of my head that I really want to see go to a certain team, but it's not guaranteed to happen. It's just something I'm hoping for. You want to go first with that, and then I'll jump in.
Yeah, I don't really know. Like Who would take him in right now? I want to hear your team.
Okay, so now that the Suns have the 10th pick and they need somebody that's a wing that could score, Derek Queen from Maryland, who is 6'9", only 20 years old, so he's very young. He had a terrific freshman season at Maryland. They made the tournament or whatever. They had
Maryland had a good year.
Yeah, and he's one of those guys that has so much room to grow. That's why I really want to see him go to the Suns, because the Suns are in a weird spot. Of course, they have Devin Booker, who's one of the best players in the league, but they don't got much else. They really don't. They don't have much guys to help.
I think that was the issue. I was going to bring that up earlier. That's probably the reason why they weren't as good with KD. Because you have Devin. You know what I mean? They don't have enough. They didn't have enough for him. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it kind of was a two-man show.
He's still an elite player, but he's not on the level of where LeBron was able to take that Cavs roster and whatever. He's not at that level. He's good. Don't get me wrong. He's great, but he's not at that level to where he can carry a whole team of bums. And I think that was the issue with Phoenix. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's why I was saying, okay, so KD gets traded. Yeah, Suns fans might not be happy, but you saw this is something we said about the Oilers last week. You see the product. Yeah. You see the product. That's you're not getting past that spot. You're not. You got to be honest. That's the thing what good teams do when they know that their limit has been reached or their ceiling has been reached. Okay, we can't go anymore. We have to shake things up. And with the Suns, they thought this was going to work. It didn't. Now they come away with some players. And Jalen Green also. That's one that I think we should talk about here. That maybe we didn't think of right away. He could definitely very easily be traded Wednesday night. The Suns have said that they even though they just acquired him, they want to see what they can get for him.
Yeah,
I don't think that Booker and Green dynamic would work too well. I really don't think that's going to be a good.
Yeah, and I feel like the Phoenix Suns are one of those teams where they're going to have to make some big moves to be successful. Yeah. And if that requires them trading Jalen Green, who they just got, they're going to do it. They're a team that can't be, they have to make big moves. They have to. They're one of those teams that has to. So I think that's definitely a possibility, them getting rid of him already and, going for bigger or, like you said in the draft, where they're at in the draft. So I think they're going to go for more of those moves than, keeping what they got from KD.
Yeah, and to have someone like Booker on your team who's, we didn't say obviously great, but he's good. And you have to
you have
to have a team around him that can win because he's getting up there. Like he's been around the league.
I was going to say he's getting kind of old, isn't he?
Yeah, a little bit.
He's terribly old, but he's getting up there.
Yeah.
He's been around for a while.
He's either in his 30s or almost there. So that's you can't waste any more time with that. But the Suns are definitely a team to watch out for Wednesday night. There's a few other teams. I know the Brooklyn Nets aren't anything that's been great lately, but they're a team that can very easily improve.
Yeah, with a few picks
they have a few first-round picks. They have tons of cap space, so they can turn it around. A good coach as well, so something to watch out for. And that leads us, I think, right into our next topic, and something we've been harping on for the past probably since the first episode. The Eastern Conference is the most open it has ever been in a long time, and we have to capitalize on this. Like we don't have to. I know it sounds like we're repeating ourselves, but we don't.
Yeah, but it's the truth. It's a hot topic.
And now Halliburton being hurt, so listen, the Pacers they have a good team besides Halliburton, but they're not in my opinion, I don't think they're a top 4 seed type team next year.
I don't think they're gonna make it that far again.
No, with this team they have without Halliburton, I think that maybe second round. That's a
but not what they went to this year.
No, not at all. Not
even Eastern Conference Finals.
Nope. I agree. And then the Celtics, they're another team. Tatum's out. They're a good team without Tatum. Don't think they're a Eastern Conference Finals type team.
No, they are not.
Unless the cards break the right way, which I don't foresee happening. So honestly, for us, we should be not rooting for injuries, but happy in the sense of our two teams can very easily be meeting up in the Eastern Conference Finals next year.
I was going to say that sets that up now for, despite now, this is another guy we didn't talk about that is on kind of a trade block or release type thing, Donovan Mitchell, for talking about our teams, talking about the Cavaliers. And they also don't have Garland for the beginning of the year, right? Yeah. So that's a team, again, great roster, had a fantastic regular season. That's a team that can make a push for Eastern Conference Finals. Now the Knicks, I still think they're going to be solid, but their coaching situation kind of throws a little rip in that. You know what I mean? Yeah. But it is very well possible that our teams can meet each other in that point in the year.
Yeah, and if I'm looking down at the rest of the Eastern Conference, if I'm Detroit, I'm doing everything I can to acquire a talented player, like a type of certain talent that can get me to that next level. Because I can very easily, if I'm Detroit, okay, we played well in the first round, we lost to the Knicks, and we have a talented team, young. Let's bring in a good talented player, and we can make that next step.
That's another team that I think, if we're going to talk about teams making the next step with a couple of moves, I think the Pistons are a very good example of that. Especially, again, I don't think they're going to win a championship anytime soon, but like Oklahoma City. But I think it's a good comparison to starting from the bottom and building your way up. And I think Detroit is the next team we're going to see kind of build their way up more with a couple moves, whether it be in the draft, trades, free agent signings. I think that's a team in the East that, can work their way up, kind of how Oklahoma did in the West.
Yeah, I agree 100%, and I think that we'll see what happens. But the NBA, the draft Wednesday night, so next week we'll definitely get into surprises, maybe a trade or two, whatever happens. So there's a lot going on in the NBA, and it's exciting, but it's also a little bit of a break from them now. And we're moving to the NHL, who last week we nailed this prediction. The Florida.
Yeah, we did at least for Game 6. Not the beginning, but
no, not the beginning, but we nailed it. Panthers are your 2025 Stanley Cup champions in 6 games. We said that they would nail the door shut, and they did that. They were just terrific all series. Honestly, the 2 games they lost were the puck didn't bounce their way that night. They still played great games. They lost.
It wasn't like they got blown out or outplayed. It was a couple bad
games. The game of hockey happens, and they didn't get it that night. Sam Bennett was MVP. And the one thing, I'm going to let you take it away on this because I know you're very passionate about hockey. So go any way you want about this series. And then also the one question I have for you is, can this continue for the Panthers? Because, of course, they won 2 years in a row now, and I think it can continue. But I just want you to evaluate this whole series as a whole. And then if you want to answer the question first, last, whatever you want to, what do you want to do? But I want to hear, just your overall take on the whole thing.
Yeah. So I think it's definitely going to continue for Florida. It will. That's a talented team, and I don't want to say they dominated the Stanley Cup Finals, but they kind of did. Let's be real. The games that they won, they killed the Oilers, except for maybe 1 or 2. Like they killed the Oilers. Oilers got smoked in the net. That's an issue. It's another issue that Edmonton needs to figure out. But yeah, I think the success continues for Florida. This is a team that's going to keep their core guys. I don't know if Marchand's going to stay. I don't see that happening. I think it's going to be, he was ring chasing after all those years in Boston. He got it. I think he's going to sign like maybe a 2 or 3 year deal somewhere else. Maybe not with a contender. I brought this up one episode. I don't remember exactly which one, but I can see this going kind of how Claude Giroux did it, the longtime captain for the Philadelphia Flyers. He didn't get a ring with Florida, but he signed with the Panthers halfway through the season when he left Philadelphia, and then he's been with the Senators for the last 2 or 3 years. He signed like a couple-year contract. He went back home as he went back to his hometown team, like someone else we're going to talk about in a little bit. But so their success is going to continue. We saw it with Tampa Bay. I think Florida's kind of on the similar path. I don't know if they'll win again next year, but again, I didn't think they would this year. So there we go. I thought Edmonton would get that cup. McDavid would finally do it, but they obviously have some bigger holes to fill in Edmonton. But yeah, I think Florida's success stays. They're going to keep their core guys around. Like I said, Marchand, he had a fantastic series. Did not expect that out of the old guy. You know what I mean? So where does he go next? I don't know, but it's going to be not Florida. He's not going to re-sign in Florida. I don't see that happening. But yeah, I do see the success continuing for Florida, though. I don't know about another cup, but again, I could be wrong because I was wrong this year. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and they have the right formula to keep winning. So
to be a dynasty, yeah,
it very easily can be, and we'll see what happens. But the one thing that I think that we can say that's happened, we talked about this another thing for a whole month, was the theme showed true, was that the Panthers yes, they scored that. We didn't think they would score as much.
I was gonna say I did not expect that offensive explosiveness that they had this entire thing, and it came from an unexpected guy, Brad Marchand. It came out you know what I mean. Sam Bennett MVP, but I think Marchand had himself a great series, and nobody saw that coming.
Yeah, like that when they made the move, honestly, they were probably like, okay, he's gonna be productive, but he's not gonna be a top
Yeah, he's
guy.
not gonna basically win us the cup.
Yeah, exactly. But that's the thing with teams in that win. They just find any way possible. It doesn't matter who it is. They produce and they move and they win. And
Yeah.
that's really really good. And the one thing, you know what? We'll move on. I was gonna say something not nice about Edmonton, but it's
Oh,
okay.
okay.
We'll move on. I don't wanna
Okay.
clown on Edmonton's poor showing in Game 6. But
Their
the draft
poor
is Friday
goaltending
night.
going.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Like that's what we said. When you have two goalies, I was gonna say when you have two goalies, you don't have one, but it's okay. It's never mind. The draft is Friday night. I just want to get your expectations on that as well, because there's a few teams that have premium picks, of course, and there's also some teams that may use this draft because the NHL obviously is way different. These draft picks aren't guys that play right away for the most part. They're
For the
not
most
big.
part, no. And you get a lot of guys that didn't even play in college at all.
Yeah. Yep.
You get guys playing juniors in the OHL, any CHL league. I don't know if you know all about that, how that works.
Yeah.
So guys either they go right to the NHL if they're good enough, or they sign with a Division One whatever school, whatever their talent level is. So you see a lot of younger guys get drafted here because the OHL and QMJHL, WHL, they all start at like 15, 16 years old.
Yeah,
Hockey recruiting and playing to get to the next level is so different from even let's talk about both our sports that we play. You play, I played in college, football and baseball. Recruiting is, hockey's way different from all of it.
Oh,
you know what I mean? Like there's 15-year-olds playing in these like top junior leagues if they're good enough, and they go right to the NHL in a couple of years. You know what I'm saying? Baseball, you see some guys that are like, maybe some really young guys playing low A. They get drafted like right out of high school if they're throwing heat or they're just, really good. But the NHL recruiting and, getting guys playing in college, and some guys even don't, you know what I mean? But the draft, it's funny. Out of all the things for hockey, I don't pay attention to the draft as much as I should. All I know is where my team's at in the 6th spot, which, I mean, not great. Not what we, should have got. The Islanders have the first overall pick this year.
yeah.
So, yeah, expectations. I don't know. I don't have much to say there. I don't think the Flyers are going to make any crazy picks if we want to talk about my team. They just made a huge move, which we'll talk about later, that
I know you're fired up about.
I'm very fired up about this. But knowing Philly, probably shouldn't be, but we'll talk about it. We'll talk about it when the time comes. But, the NHL draft, again, next to the MLB draft, I think it gets the least amount of, talk and, views, I guess you can say. You know what I mean? Would you agree with me on that?
Yeah. I was gonna say like the NFL draft, of course, is his top.
Yeah, that's a huge thing.
But NBA, another thing I think is watched a lot. Baseball is just weird because like there's guys that can get drafted in the 1st or 2nd round that don't even go to the team. Like
I was gonna say MLB draft's weird. NHL is kind of similar to the NBA in a sense.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. Oh yeah, but it's something we'll talk about again next week as well. Just breaking it down a little bit, and something that you just brought up was the you said the OHL, right? There was something you were saying.
Yeah, so it's called the CHL. It's like the top junior league, and like there's 3 leagues in it: the OHL, Ontario Hockey League, the WHL, which is the Western Hockey League, and then the QMJHL, which is Quebec Minor Junior Hockey League. They're all in that same realm. It's a CHL.
Yeah, okay. So I was gonna say from the OHL, there was out of the first 10 picks like projected, there is 6, I believe, 6 or 7 from there. So
that
shows
the OHL produces a lot of guys. Like that's a really good. That's probably that's probably the best in the CHL. I'd say they produce the most.
Yeah,
or the WHL.
I guess that shows.
Yeah.
I guess it shows in the projections, but of course projections don't mean anything. And then the next move, we'll hit in the NHL was Jonathan Taves signs with the Winnipeg Jets, who was a longtime Blackhawk. I mean, I remember him from when I first started like watching hockey when I was little. One of the good Blackhawk teams. I was like, I can't believe this guy's still playing. He's up there in age, but still doing his thing. Signing with the hometown Jets. So I'm assuming this is probably the end of the career for the most part. Just
absolutely.
If guys do that, I was gonna say if guys do that, doesn't that usually mean that they're pretty much on the way out if they're gonna make a move like that?
Yeah, again, I'll go back to him. Claude Giroux signing with the hometown Ottawa Senators. Same deal. He's probably done. He's a longtime player. So he was part of that team where the Blackhawks dynasty started.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about. The Phantom goal.
Yeah. But listen.
Still pains me to this day.
It happened. Sports is a funny thing, man. And then the last one, I'm gonna let you go with this, but because you texted me before I found out about it. I was like, oh he's texting me. He said, see this move? I was like, no, I didn't. I really haven't seen it yet. And you were fired up about this, so take it away.
Yeah, this is a pretty big move from Danny Briere, to say the least. As we know, and I've probably mentioned before, and as hockey fans know, the Flyers are a mess of an organization. They do get good guys, but they tend to fail them for the most part. And, when the guys don't produce, the city hates them. It's very similar to the Eagles. It really is. Eagles fans, but make it hockey. You know what I mean? That's how the Flyers are. That's just the culture of Philly. Not as much as the Phillies. Yeah, passionate fans. And, we do a lot of crazy things. But Trevor Zegras from the Anaheim Ducks, we traded for him. We gave up Brian Paling and a second-round pick from this year's draft and a 2026 fourth-rounder. This is a big move. This is going to help us somewhat, and this is a young player who I think can be good for us, a good winger. And he's reunited with Jamie Draisaitl. Jamie Draisaitl. I've heard his name said like multiple different ways. I hear Drysdale, Draisaitl. I call him Jamie Draisaitl. That's how I say it. But I've heard Drysdale. But his old teammate in Anaheim, when we gave up Cutter Gauthier, explicitive Cutter Gauthier. I don't know if you remember. I don't know if you saw anything when the Anaheim Ducks came to Philly. It was like a huge. It was a Cutter Gauthier riot, like hate fest. I don't know if you know the story of that.
I don't know the whole thing, but I did see that. I remember. Yeah.
So basically, he said "F you" to Philly. I don't want to play here. And he was this young guy from he was on Team USA and all that, decent player, but not good enough to be making comments like that. And we got rid of him. Shipped him out to Anaheim for Drysdale, for Jamie Draisaitl, however you say it. I say Draisaitl, Jamie Draisaitl. It was actually funny. Draisaitl scored like 2 goals that game. We won that game 6-1 against Anaheim when Cutter came back to the Wells Fargo. Yeah, so Drysdale had himself a game. And Philly gave it all to Cutter. He got it. He heard it for sure. But yeah, I think it's a good trade. This will help us offensively. But do I think that it's going to work? Again, the Flyers, they're known for taking young players and kind of shipping them out of town and not having them, live up to their full potential. With the new head coach, though, I think with Tocchet in there, I think the Flyers will be a little bit better because there won't be, hopefully not, as much tension as there was with Torts, who, as you know, very hated amongst the players. He's a tough coach, very good coach in my opinion. I like them, but you can't have a good team when you have tensions with your head coach. You just can't. And that's why I was happy when we got rid of him. The season was already falling off like majorly. It was a horrible season. So yeah, I just hope this helps us a little bit. I hope we don't fail him because he's a good player, good young player, reunited with one of his former teammates in Anaheim. And Paling was a good player for us. He was on the rise. He was one of those guys that, you heard his name like middle to late in the season and, this guy's pretty decent. So he'll have a good career in Anaheim. I think he'll do well for them. But again, let's not fail Trevor, please. Let's not do it, Philly. Let's do it. Let's give this kid a good career. Seriously.
Hopefully that's the case for you because I don't want to see you get any more upset about the Flyers. Yeah, I totally understand what you're feeling because I'm a Jets fan, obviously. So
yeah,
our young players get failed, and it feels exactly the same, honestly, to me. It's like, oh, we made this big move for a good player, and then they they don't.
He's out of town in like 2 or 3 years, right?
Yeah, it usually happens. So hopefully,
then wherever they go next, they're successful.
Yep, usually that is the case. But hockey is wrapped up for now. Of course, with the NBA and the NHL, we won't talk about it as much because there's nothing really to say. But next week we'll definitely recap the drafts of both, and then also if anything else happens, because just because it's the summer, it doesn't mean that moves can't be made. Some move that we're not even thinking of could be made right now, so that's very possible. But Biggie, I think there's something. I know you just got fired up in a positive note, but I think this one is going to tick you off a little bit. Am I right?
Yeah, you're right. I'm mad just thinking about it.
Oh, man.
This is my shocked moment of the week. So, a little different topic from what we usually talk about, but I think I talked about it last episode. I took a little trip. As you guys may or may not know, I am a stadium traveler, as they call it. I go see games at every stadium I could possibly get to, whether it be high school, college, professional, semi-pro, you name it, I'm there. If there's a venue and a team plays in it, I'm going to go see a game and put it on my list and immerse myself in the culture and the city and the town or whatever it is, and just catch a game because I love doing that. I love seeing, how different cities and towns work their teams, how it's different from the teams we have around here, and to kind of see how the lower levels work compared to some of the higher ones. But I finally got around to getting to a game, sort of. I went down to Wilmington, Delaware on Thursday because I was off from work. Me and my buddy, shout out EJ Samuel, we took a trip down to Delaware, and we made a day out of it. We did because his father's a University of Delaware alum, so we drove down to Newark, which is about 10 minutes from Wilmington, and he showed me around there. Great facilities, by the way, in University of Delaware. I got to see the ice arena, got to see the Bob Carpenter Center, which is their basketball arena, and the stadium, which is very, very nice. They're just moving up to FBS this year, so they're going to be really good too. They're a program that's going to be on the rise, especially in their first year of FBS. So we did that, and then there's a big mall in between Newark and Wilmington, and then we were there for a little bit, and then we get to our stadium in Wilmington, Delaware, and the whole day, weather's great. Weather is beautiful. Now, mind you, we should have looked at the weather ahead of time, but the way it was looking was that it was going to miss game time or first pitch. And as you know, and especially because you play baseball, what do they do when there's weather, when there's rain?
They should tarp the field if they have.
They did. Yes, there was tarp on the field. Yes. This is another reason why I'm upset, because there was tarp on the field as well. So I'm like, okay, they're going to get this game in, right? So you put the tarp on the field, and it's still raining close to first pitch. What do you usually do?
Oh, you can push it back a little bit. That's usually how it goes.
Well,
you push it back once or twice, and then after that, you
ask anyone that works for the Wilmington Blue Rocks in Wilmington, Delaware, the high A affiliate of the Washington Nationals, they'll tell you no. But so rain, thunderstorms, really bad storm. Philly got hit pretty hard, and Wilmington and Philly are like 10 or 15 minutes from each other. It actually missed Wilmington. Like, there was a tornado warning for Newcastle County, Delaware, which is where Wilmington is, and there was a spotted one in Newark, Delaware. But none of that got to us in Wilmington. It was just really, really heavy rain. So we're like, okay. And the rain was supposed to stop at 7:30, and first pitch was 6:35. So we were like, okay, they'll get this in, right? So I get into the stadium. Not even 5 or 10 minutes later, it's 6 o'clock, mind you. They go over the loudspeaker. Yeah, tonight's game is canceled. So still, people will be like, oh, you made a day out of it. No, I drove there to watch a baseball game. I didn't go down to Delaware to walk around a campus, which is, again, very nice, and go to a mall and eat Annie Ann's and Popeyes, okay? I didn't drive 2.5 hours to do that. I drove 2.5 hours to go see a Wilmington Blue Rocks game. Now, the fact that they didn't even try to delay it just it's made me upset. Like, there were every other team played their games. The Rail Riders up here played their game. The Williamsport Crosscutters played their game. Then they're an MLB Draft League team. They have less on the line than a high A baseball team does, wouldn't you think?
Yeah.
They played their game, and they still played it. Now, granted, Williamsport is about an hour and a half west from here. But they still got bad weather. They were in a delay. Scranton got hit hard. I got it on my way home because as soon as I heard that, we just drove back up here. We drove back up to the area. And let me tell you, as soon as I got off the Pennsylvania Turnpike, I was driving 30 miles an hour on a state highway in the Cross Valley, which is it's called. It was a complete downpour. I couldn't see. It was bad. And the Rail Riders still played their game. So, do better, grounds crew at the Wilmington Blue Rocks. You leave the tarp on, but you call the game at 6 o'clock without even trying to delay it. Like, I don't understand. And there was supposed to be a Korean baseball player making his pitching start for the Blue Rocks. It was like a big deal. So there were some people traveling, like probably there were some Nationals fans that traveled up for the game. Because this is I forget the guy's name, but he was out of the Korean league, and he was making his American baseball debut. He was starting on the mound for the Blue Rocks. So, yeah. But again, 2.5 hours for that to happen. Didn't even give it a chance. I am mad. I told myself I never want to stadium travel ever again. I'm never doing this again. This is ridiculous. Everyone who makes fun of me for going to community college basketball games and independent league and MLB draft league baseball stadiums and semi-pro hockey rinks with a seating capacity smaller than the rink locally around here than the public rink here. Look, I was like, they're right. I shouldn't do this anymore. This is stupid. I've since calmed down. I'm probably going to see a new stadium Thursday. I might not have the gas money for that. Luckily, I am working Wednesday. I'm working all week, but I'm getting some extra cash on Wednesday because I am going down to Shore this weekend as well. So we're going to be filling up the gas tank once or twice, to say the least. So, yeah. Now all I want to do is go to a stadium. I was thinking about driving somewhere right after work today and saying, hey.
I was going to say now, in spite of the weather, any chance you have to go. And every time you go and you're able to watch a game, you have to look up at the sky and be like, I got you today. Like, you have to. That's what we need. We need that video. We need that content. That's your homework for this week. So Thursday, if you go to the game, we need you a video of you looking up at the sky and saying, I got you tonight. And then you got to show it. And then you got to show it here for the viewers. Is that the deal here?
Yeah. But no, in all honesty, all jokes aside, disappointing to say the least. I wasn't happy. I did actually have thoughts of never traveling again. I genuinely did. That's how upset I was.
Feel the same way. I mean,
in every stadium I've been to, I haven't had this happen. The only time I've had this happen is, seeing a game locally, the Rail Riders up here in Scranton, which is the local team. But like, I drove 2.5 hours to visit a new stadium, and I'm trying to actually get to some this year. Last year, I only got to I got to 2 technically, but I'm talking trips that I just did, like my little road trips, day trips I do. I did get to Comerica Park last year, which was great. Me and my dad took a trip out to Detroit, stayed in Canada. But I only did one actual minor league baseball trip, and that was out to Williamsport, saw the Crosscutters MLB Draft League. So I was kind of disappointed on that because the year before I got to like 5. So I was like, I'm going to do this again. And like all these stadiums I want to get to now, I was supposed to get to last summer. And I'm sure I'm going to do the same thing again. I'm obviously going to get to Wilmington before the summer's over because we have to use those ticket vouchers. So we're probably going again in August. But yeah, so it's looking like Thursday we're going to go somewhere. I'll use a full tank of gas and then fill it again and drive down 3.5 hours to Wildwood. It's okay. I have money. I'm working. I'm good. It's not like I don't have a job. I have money. We're okay. Yeah.
You're doing life the right way.
I am. Yeah. But if I want to get to these places, I'm going to have to lock in. I know I'm going on for a while, but I have a list of everywhere I'm trying to go this year. And it's not looking like it's going to happen, but we're going to sure try. And you might like some of these. So the Reading Fighting Phils is top of my list, which is Reading, PA, the Phillies AA team. Wilmington, I have in parentheses, have to get back. That was number 2 on my list. Number 3 was the Hudson Valley Renegades, the Yankees High A team. And
beautiful stadium. Beautiful.
Outside. You've been there too?
I've never been there, but I know it's all turf and everything.
I was going to say that's in Wappingers Falls? Wappingers Falls, yeah. The Staten Island Ferry Hawks, your neck of the woods. I want to get there. I do.
Oh, you got to let me know when you go there.
I know. I was going to tell you. I'll let you know. The Harrisburg Senators, they play on that little island. They're the Nationals AA team. And I had an MLB one on here. That's probably not happening. I had either Pittsburgh or Boston because they're the 2 within driving distance I haven't been to yet. But, yeah, so looks like we're going to sneak one that's not on the list. My 2 options right now, but it's looking more towards 1 because I don't know if the 1 team's home.
Yeah, they're not. I actually looked.
You actually just looked? Okay, good. Yeah. I'm probably going to go see the Sussex County Miners out of the Independent League. They have a very cool stadium from what I heard. They're in the middle of nowhere in New Jersey. It's about an hour and a half. It's really actually kind of close to me. I never realized how close of a drive it is. But I'll probably do that Thursday after work because my parents are going down the shore before I do. They'll be down there Thursday. So I have a night to myself. I'm going to do that because I've been fiending for a new stadium, and I think we're going to do it.
Yeah, and that's a good one to go to, honestly. I mean,
yeah. So go check it out, and I'll take a video if I end up doing it.
Yeah, we need that. We need it.
We'll show it on the show.
We need we need to get you need to get your revenge for what happened last week, and
I
hopefully
agree.
if you make other stadiums, there's no rainouts because that just sucks. Especially like 2.5 hours is not. You think about it, and then you have to drive 2.5 hours back. That's a long day.
Yeah, that was a big round trip, like almost 5 hours, over 5
And the highlight
hours.
of your day was what?
Going to a mall.
Yeah, that's not.
Well, the University of Delaware can be considered the highlight.
Yeah,
but
that's probably the highlight, but still, it's like it's not like you're looking to go to the school. You know what I mean? Like you
no,
just
like
looked
I'm
at it,
already in
like,
school, and I'm not touring athletic facilities because I'm very far away from playing college football ever again. I can tell you that.
Yeah. No, all right. At least you calmed down because I thought this was gonna really. I thought I was gonna have to like talk you off the edge a little bit, but you settled yourself down, and that's great. Very nice. But we'll stay in college because you just ended with that. Was
Yeah.
LSU is your 2025 national champions? So for the second time in 3 years, they uh, took home the hardwood or hardware, I should say. That's a mistake by me. They won game one, 1-0, where both aces just went out there and chucked. LSU came away. Anderson uh, pitched, I think it was 130 pitches or something like that. So it shows like a championship game. That's what you're gonna do. College, yes, they'll do that. The pros, you'll probably have a stroke if someone threw that many pitches. Game two,
Can I cut
they
you off
won
for a second?
What'd you say?
Look at Thursday in Augusta, New Jersey.
Oh, 51% rain. Very nice. Here we go.
We're gonna keep looking
You
through
should
the
just
weird.
call them up and say, make sure you tarp the field for 3 days straight. So we'll be okay.
Real. Okay, but anyway, go ahead. I'm off
Yeah,
that now.
no, I got it. But LSU, of course, won game one, 1-0, and game two, 5-3. So both of these games are extremely close. If Coastal came away with the win yesterday, they would have been playing exactly right now, but they weren't able to. And it just shows that we mentioned this a few times. The SEC is just a powerhouse in pretty much every sport, and especially baseball. And they won.
Baseball nuts.
They have a champion. They have now crowned as champion for the 6th straight season. So
That's wild.
this shows how good this conference is. And now that they've added some teams that they have, this is not going to stop. And these conferences, just SEC in every sport, they just dominate, and it's very nice to see. But definitely a shout out to Coastal as a whole. I know I said that I really like them to win, and they came and they really of course getting to the championship is you're a good team if you're getting to the championship. Losing 2 close games is something else. But I think I have my chalk moment of the week, Biggie.
Oh boy.
And it's something that I'm not going to get too fired up about because it didn't directly affect me, but it's game 2 of the College World Series, the national championship. So this is it for some players. This could perhaps be it for coaches, whatever the case may be. Because sometimes when teams have a lot of success, guys walk away and they don't want to go. They want to end on a high note. That's usually how teams or players, whatever it is, coaches do that. And their head coach and first base coach were ejected in the first inning of game 2. So my issue is, why are you getting ejected in the first inning as an umpire as you're sitting? So I have 2 issues here. Umpires, why are you looking to throw someone out in the first inning? I don't know what what was said.
That was my first thought.
The call to me, I know I'm a player, so I'm always going to kind of side with the players, but the call was not good. So I can understand why the coach or coaches will react the way they did. But the umpire, you're the umpire. You got to say, okay, so it's the first thing in the national championship. Do I really want to be the headline of this game? Usually umpires kind of do because they're selfish, and I don't really like umpires. But not all umpires are bad, but a lot of them are. Why? Why do you have to eject not 1 but 2 coaches in the first inning? Like I don't get that. Like and now they lost, so this is the last time this group is going to be together. And the 2 coaches that got ejected couldn't even be there to be like a part of it. They had to sit in the clubhouse. Like I don't know why you feel that you felt good about that. And then also as coaches, if it's 2 of you getting thrown out, I kind of feel at some point you have to step in and be like, okay, so there's 2 of us arguing. You got to stop. Like we got to move on. We have a lot more of the game to play. And
especially one like that.
Yeah, I just felt that high of magnitude of game, you don't get into that point, and I just didn't understand why it got to that. But it is what it is, and honestly, that it was a great week in sports for the most part. I know what happened to you wasn't, but for the most part, it was a great week in sports, and I didn't really have any negative things to say. But we're gonna say that, and this had to be talked about. I just didn't understand, and that level of like that it meant that much, and then you just do that. Like I really don't. I don't.
Yeah, no, I agree with you.
I don't get it, and I just don't get why umpires sometimes feel like they need to be the heroes of games when they really don't have to. They kind of just
Right.
blend in and do your job. That's really much what it. If you don't hear anything about an umpire or a referee, that means they did good. That's how I take it. And
I agree with you. Yeah.
they of course got to get in the middle of it in the wrong way once again. But we'll leave it there before I keep going on and on about umpires. Our next sport to get to is the NFL. So our headline is Travis Hunter, the two-way, yes, two-way in the NFL. Something you don't hear that ever really. Signs a
Haven't heard in a long time.
very long time, 4-year, $46 million rookie deal with the Jaguars. Of course, 31 million just for signing Travis Hunter on his contract. So that shows how much they believe in him. And
I
the
was just going to
potential.
say they really believe in him if they're giving him
Oh,
that big of a rookie deal.
oh my God, I know. That's what I was gonna say, and like how much like he has a ton of potential. We know that, but the thing I wanted to ask you was, is it realistic that he can play both ways, like at this level effectively? Because yes, you can do it, and it's not going to be great. It could easily go that way.
Yeah,
What do you think?
I want to say yes because he's a generational type player, but in the NFL, man, it's a lot different. Like the college and the NFL are very different. You see it all the time with players. I think they're obviously going to bank on him doing both ways. Obviously, they're going to. But do I see it panning out? Not in the beginning. I don't see this panning out in the beginning. I think I really don't. I'm not saying they're putting too much into him because he's obviously a great player, and I would too. If I was, the Jaguars front office, I absolutely would. But, you put that high of expectations on him, I don't think he's going to be as good both ways as he was in college. He's going to be better at one than the other, to say the least. He's going to be a good player, but I don't think as a two-way player. I think one way is going to work for him, personally.
Yeah, and coming from a football guy, you get it. Of course, you weren't a receiver or a cornerback, but you understand.
No, but playing two sides is, I personally, I'll be honest with you, I never did, even in high school. I didn't. Yeah. The highest level I played two ways at was junior high JV football. I'll tell you that right now. But I just know how football is, and especially the difference between the NFL and college. I just think, I think it's going to be a challenge for him to play both ways.
Yeah, big time. Just on the body, it's just grueling, and not even that. It's like mentally, I feel as well. Just because
that's the thing that's different. The mental aspect is
like meetings, right? Like sitting in on meetings, doing this. Like there's so many different. Like, how do you have time to sit on two different meetings, offense and defense, get treatment? Like, there's a lot of different scenarios.
That's the thing, and that's why you don't see it. That's why you don't see it ever, because so much goes in, especially like college. You put in a ton of time. The NFL, that's your job. That's your career.
Like, you're not doing anything else.
No, you're not doing anything else. So, the amount of time you had to put in for even playing in the NFL, period, let alone two different sides of the ball, it's just, I don't think it's going to pan out as well as people think.
Yeah, and as NFL fans, we're rooting for it to go that way.
Absolutely. This would be great to see, but I just don't think it's realistic.
No, it's going to be – I feel in the beginning, like you said, it's going to be very tough, and they may have to shy away. And if I'm the Jaguars, I feel the need is more so on the defensive side of him being a cornerback.
Yes.
And he's better. I think he's better as a cornerback.
I was just going to say, I think he's better defensively. So I think it's going to eventually lead to him just playing the defense or very limited offense.
I was going to say they can use him and like pick their spots with him offensively. But for defense, you got to be out there. He has to be out there every possession just because of what he can do.
I know. And what the Jaguars need.
Yeah, 100%. If they had, I don't know, think of Hall of Fame cornerbacks, and it'd be like, okay, then he'll play receiver, but they don't. And I feel like he can be.
They need defense. They do.
Yes, they need him a lot, and I think it's also an ego thing for him. Like, okay, I'm here to play two ways, and you're going to tell me I'm not. Like, I have a problem with that, and I feel that the Jaguars as a whole definitely want to see what he can do with that.
Yes.
I feel in the back of their head, they're going to hype him up and say he can do it, but they realistically know that he won't be able to do that. So
yeah, but they're giving him a shot regardless.
Yeah, and I feel it's more so not just giving him a shot, but also being like, we don't want to start problems with our first round pick in the first like month or two he's
Right,
here.
especially someone like him. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you want to play nice with him in the beginning and be like, okay, we want to see you try to do this, and then if we don't think you can do it, we're gonna pull the plug on it. Which is, I don't think that's the worst move at all. I kind of
No,
feel
I
like
think that's the best move, honestly.
yeah, you got to take it with the approach that way because you don't want to upset the. And now it's crazy to say, but it is a player-driven league. So like, if a guy's upset, he's gonna
It is.
let you know
Yeah.
about it. So you kind of gotta,
Like,
which I don't agree with at all. I feel like you like listen, like a coach is a coach and a player is a player. You're playing for somebody. You're gonna have to listen to him.
I
But
agree.
that's not what happens anymore. And even in the lower levels, I don't know, all the way through high school, feels like the players rule the team, and that's just not shouldn't work that way.
Yeah, for the most part, mainly in the NFL. High school, if that happens, your team's not good at all. I can tell you that. I know from experience. Like, it's really not. And even covering high school football, like being on sidelines, like with other schools, like not even in my playing time, but like from covering games and seeing teams that, where the coach just kind of lets the players do what they want, they're not good teams. They're usually the teams getting blown out.
Yeah.
Like, the coach has no control over his players. That's a team that's not going to win games.
Yeah, it could very easily happen in the NFL. Like we've seen it.
Oh, and it does. And you know what? I think there's less of a risk in the NFL with it, but it's also not good for the team morale. It doesn't show discipline as a team. You know what I mean? And you need that in football. That is a big thing in football, discipline. Obviously you can have all the talent in the world. You could. But if you don't have that team discipline and an organizational way of running things, you're not going to win games. And, obviously sometimes talent could take over, especially in the NFL, but not all the time. Not in most cases, where coaches are quiet and they're not disciplining their players as much as they should. You can kind of see the results.
Definitely. And one player that definitely wasn't like a type of complainer, I should say, is former Raven and Jet linebacker C.J. Mosley, who just retired. He the writing was on the wall there. He got released by the Jets about, I think it was in March or so. So kind of figured I was going to go down this road, but just a great guy and just a great player.
Yeah.
I know for the Jets, he meant a lot to them. And their two starting linebackers for this season are two guys that were mentored by him for every aspect on and off the field. Jamian Sherwood and Quincy Williams, two guys that have gotten so much better since they came. Williams was picked up from the Jaguars, and Sherwood was drafted as a safety in the 6th round. So both guys were not polished at all when they came here. And Mosley was just that type of guy. At the beginning of his tenure with the Jets was a little rocky. I know 2019, that was his first year. He played well in like a game or two and then got hurt, and then that season was ruined for him. Then 2020, he opted out of the year. I don't know if you remember, there was players that opted out of the season. He was one.
Yeah, he was one, right?
Yeah, he was. And then I was like, oh, maybe they're just going to release him just the way that went. But that's when the switch was flipped for Mosley on the Jets. And he just played great for the past 3 years after that. And then last year was a little rough for him. Just he was injured, playing time diminished. But when he was out there, he contributed. And I feel like the off the field aspect of him just meant so much. And this is the thing, coming from the Ravens explains everything here because that organization is ran the right way, and he learned everything that he brought with him, like in his career after the Ravens, which is with the Jets. It came from that, and he's a great guy and a great player.
And as a Jets fan, you want that type of culture brought in.
Oh yeah, and I just feel that he kind of knows. He's like, okay, my time's up. I got to move on, and that's great to see from a player he was so good, man. And on the Ravens, I was like, damn, I wish this guy was on my team, and he was. But
he ended up being on it.
Yeah, they didn't win, but at least he was a pleasure to watch, and I felt that was definitely necessary to talk about just because he was a good, just an overall good guy, very nice. The last thing, not so nice. Shedeur Sanders ticketed for driving 40 miles an hour over the limit, which I know at this time, if this was the NFL, like during the actual NFL season, we would not be talking about this.
Yeah.
But it's just because we don't have much news to get through the NFL. So
and it's Shedeur Sanders.
And it's Shedeur Sanders, of course, the guy that is, I think he's a little important in terms of the NFL. driving 40 mile an hour over the limit. My question to you, Biggie, is why do these pro athletes do these stupid things? Like you know it's gonna get magnified. Like you know that. You know
That's the
before you do
thing.
something stupid, it's gonna
You are
get
a
worse.
professional athlete. You are in the spotlight 24/7, especially Shedeur Sanders. He was the topic of this year's draft. And with your father and, you know, the whole controversy about you not being picked in the first round and the way you acted in front of coaches and GMs and meetings, and you're going to do something like this? I mean, come on. You know, it just proves the point to me that Shedeur is exactly how I think he is. And I personally don't like it. Like I like Dion, don't get me wrong. I think he's a cool guy, but I just don't like that attitude that Shedeur had. And, you know, I also think part of it does come from his father. Don't get me wrong. It does. As much as I like Deion Sanders, he is that type of guy where, you know, it's the Deion show. Nobody else matters but me. And I'm the best and this and that, which I think Shedeur has inherited. And no offense to him, he's not. Let's be real.
Oh, yeah.
And a lot of teams, I think, not only didn't pick him because they didn't think he'd be a starter immediately, but I think a lot of it came from the fact of who he is and who his father is and all that comes with the Sanders. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because it's not the normal kid. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's someone that's been kind of, I don't want to say spoiled because obviously we don't know, like, his person.
Yeah, we don't know, but we can kind of get the point.
Yeah, he comes off that way. And it's like he had things or has things that people maybe not get for maybe a little later in life, and he has it at this age, so he acts a certain way. And doing stupid things like this doesn't help the cause. Because, like, I'm one of those guys that actually I like him. I really do. I feel like I get what he's going through. Like, I know what you're saying.
Yeah, I don't like him.
I totally get it. I'm a fan of him. I really hope he does good. But things like this make people that support him look stupid because, like, oh, here he goes again doing something stupid.
Yep.
You gotta be better with that. You gotta know, okay, everything I do is gonna be taken from here to here because of who I am, and you gotta understand that.
But you gotta understand who you are in a sense.
Yeah, and
the opportunities you have.
Oh yeah, exactly. And some of these guys, they really do. They don't get it. They really just don't. They don't get it. And hopefully, because you never know. Like, listen, the ticket, everyone, people speed and things happen, but you never know what could have happened. Like, you know, like there's plenty of guys out there in the NFL that wish they were still playing, but they did stupid things with a car. We know exactly who.
We know who we're talking about.
Yeah, and it cannot happen. I really hope nothing else of that magnitude comes about. But before we hit the MLB, which is our last main topic today, we're gonna check in with the just checking on how we're doing, because I know Biggie, how you doing?
How you doing?
We got to check in on how we're doing, and I feel for you got that off your chest, but I know your Yankees haven't been that great lately, and then also
and as we speak, they're down 3-1 to the Reds.
Oh, nice. Okay, so both of us are in the same boat here tonight. I'll actually, you know what? You go first again, because I feel this is gonna continue to boil inside of me, and I don't want to. I really don't want to yell, but it might come to that.
Okay. All right. Hey, it's all right. So yeah, let's start off with the actual team that's playing right now, the New York Yankees. Skid is continuing. What's going on? They're hitting a point where it's like, what do we do here? We're not playing like we were in April and May. What are we doing? Like, what's going on? We're losing to some of these teams. We're losing some of these games, and it's like, got to start raising some eyebrows and not pointing fingers, obviously, but where are these problems coming from? What's going on? So Yankees, and like I said, they're currently down 3-1 to the Reds. So it's, like, remember I said I got to keep an eye out and keep the eyebrows raised a little bit. They're raised.
Oh yeah,
it's at a point now where they're raised pretty high, and it's getting to a point where it's a little concerning. And we kind of have to see here what's going on. Where are the root of these problems where we're not winning these games and making dumb mistakes? And so that's it for the Yankees. The Eagles, just a reminder, they're still Super Bowl champions. The Eagles did win the Super Bowl. Just a friendly reminder. Saquon Barkley's in the prime of his career. Madden cover as well. Just a reminder, the Eagles did win the Super Bowl. I don't know if you knew that or not. The Eagles are Super Bowl champions. Okay. The Cavs, nothing new. Donovan Mitchell still with us. Hopefully, will keep me watching. Will maybe make me watch more than one game this year. Because I watched one game this year. That's one more than I have in the last 2 years. How about that? But yeah. So there's that. The Flyers just big trade with Anaheim getting Trevor Zegras. I'm probably saying it wrong. I don't know, but you know who I'm talking about. Big pickup for us. Going to help us offensively. Hopefully we don't fail the young guy because, again, like I said, talked about this earlier. We do that all the time. Nothing new with Syracuse. Still a pretty high expectation college football. The D1 guys are in their summer workouts now. They're all on campus. They have been for the last week or two. So I'm sure I'm sure Fran is killing them up there in the 315 because they got a tough schedule ahead of them. That's one thing, because I've talked about the guys we got from the transfer portal. I don't think I talked about their schedule.
I don't think you have. You mentioned that you did mention that it would be difficult, but I don't think you got into
that gives me something to talk about. We can talk about it maybe a little early, but this is the little check-in. So let's talk about Syracuse's schedule this year, because I've mentioned that it's really hard, and I've told you probably a couple of times. It actually really is. So let's have a look at it here. So they start off the year a neutral site. You'll see why I'm saying that in a second. They're playing Tennessee at the Atlanta Falcons Stadium to open up the college football season.
Not neutral, but okay.
No, not neutral at all. You go from Central New York to Atlanta, and you're playing Tennessee. It's not very neutral. So yeah, they have that, which playoff team. There's one right there that this is going to be the you get tested really early in the year. You know what I mean? And you're not at the Dome, which I don't know if you know, but the Dome, Syracuse has a crazy home field advantage.
Oh yeah, I know.
They're insanely good at home. They usually are very good at home. They win majority of their home games. All their losses usually come on the road. The Dome is a very hard place to play. And then they ask ACC players, it's the hardest place to play. They all say Syracuse. The most part, they all play Syracuse. They all say Syracuse or Clemson, which, for how Syracuse football has been for the last couple of years, how bad they've been in irrelevant. That says something. But yeah, so then the home openers, the next game, they're playing UConn at home. That should be a win. UConn, a program that I'm very high on, actually.
They've gotten a lot better.
I was going to say they're going to be pretty solid. So I wouldn't call that a cupcake game. Definitely not. That's a game that's going to be competitive. It even was last season too. But yeah, should be a win there. Hopefully, home opener. I'll for sure be there up at the Dome. Then they play Colgate on a Friday night. FCS school. That's usually a 60-point win. You know what I mean? That's their get paid to play game. And then this is bad. On the road at Clemson in Death Valley on a Saturday. Probably going to be a night game. Depending on how Syracuse handles with Tennessee, because I think the two in between there they'll win. But that. Then they're a home against Duke, which I think should be a win, because it's at home. Duke again, they're on the rise a little bit too. They're one of the ACC teams that people are raising eyebrows about a little bit, but that should be a win for them. And then they're at SMU, who made the playoff, had a fantastic year in the ACC in college football. That's another team that's going to give them trouble, I think, and it's on the road too. You're in Texas. So, it's crazy with the ACC now. You have Stanford, Cal. I mean, Syracuse played Stanford came to the Dome. I mean, that's just crazy. You know what I mean? And then they're home against Pitt, who, I hate with a burning passion more than Notre Dame. No, not really. I hate Notre Dame more. Sorry. But Pitt, they started off the year really well, and they embarrassed Kyle McCord last season. I think everyone, even if they didn't know about Syracuse football, they knew about Kyle McCord's game against Pitt. I don't like to talk about it. John, do you know what happened? Syracuse Pitt Thursday night.
Oh yeah, yes.
Kyle McCord, literally, he played the worst game of his career ever.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah,
and I thought our season was over, and Pitt fans thought they were going to be undefeated.
Yeah, they started out great. I remember
6-0. Yeah, and then ever since that Syracuse game, they didn't win the rest of the year. They lost out. They almost won their bowl game, but they didn't. But again, Pitt's one of those schools that is sneaky good, and they usually somehow beat us some years. But majority of the time, we do beat them. But that's another team that's sneaky good in the ACC. At Georgia Tech, that's a game that Georgia Tech's going to want back. We beat them in a very tight game in the Dome. We kind of upset them in a way because they just came off that big win in Ireland against Florida State, and that was a huge that kind of put Syracuse back on the map when we beat Georgia Tech. That, and then obviously the Miami game last year, that put us on the map. You know what I mean? But that Georgia Tech win, we basically we came back and shocked them. That's what majority of people say. I didn't think that. I knew they were going to win. But that kind of put us on the map, and Georgia Tech, I think, is going to come with a little bit of rage in that game. That's going to be a very competitive game. I'm calling that right now. That might be one of our toughest games of the year, and you wouldn't think it, but it's going to be, especially being at Georgia Tech. And then we're home against Bill Belichick, or I should say Bill Belichick's 25-year-old girlfriend. We're home against UNC. Going to be a win. It's a Friday night. It's Halloween, actually.
There you go.
Might be up in queues for Halloween. We'll see. And then they're on the road at Miami. We upset them at the Dome last year. Don't think that's happening in Miami. Miami might not be as good this year, but again, that's still an ACC team that's always kind of solid. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. For the most part. Tough one. And then we're at Notre Dame the next week. We're in South Bend.
The big showdown.
Yeah. That's going to be a big game for you, maybe. Depending on how the year goes, it's second to last game of the year. Depending on how the season goes for Cuse, how they handle some of their other harder games, I could see it being a decent game. But Notre Dame. I hate to admit it, they're good, and they're going to be good for a long time. I actually respect Marcus Freeman. He's better to look at than Brian Kelly was. And then lastly, I always am at this game. Always the last game. It's always the weekend after Thanksgiving. We always go up there for that one. Home against BC. We want that one back because we lost on the road at BC last year. We want that game, and I think they'll get it this year. So, tough schedule. I know I've said it many times, but we actually looked at it. That's a tough schedule. We're going to count this right now. 1, 2, 3, 4 playoff teams, and they're all road games too.
Ooh, yeah, that's
UC, Clemson, SMU, and Notre Dame. All on the road. Doesn't get any harder than that, especially you have high expectations after the year you had last year, and you kind of reset the culture in Syracuse, which they needed badly. If you know anything, because you're a New York City guy. Syracuse and New York is New York City. I'm sure that there's a strong connection there. Syracuse is the really well-known college in New York, all as state, city, whatever. So I'm sure you knew how irrelevant they've been for the last 20 years. Yeah, so this was a program-changing year, and they have a lot of expectations now because they're on the map. So yeah, but that's kind of it for me. I got nothing else to really talk about. We're kind of in that dead period, so not much to talk about besides baseball and upcoming college football, which I'm very excited for because it's my favorite.
We're almost there, man. We are almost there.
You're almost there. I cannot wait.
2 months, pretty much for the most part, and then once the season starts, it literally goes like that. So that we gotta.
Unfortunately, but yes.
Yeah, once we get to that, we'll be good. Because, of course, we love baseball, but it's the only sport going on. It kind of gets a little.
Yeah, and college football is just amazing. So.
Yeah. Top of the line in sports. It's just great. But for me, So for the Knicks, they still don't have a coach, so we'll see what happens with that. The draft is Wednesday night, so curious to see what they do with that. They have their first round pick, but I don't really know what they're going to do with that. They don't really. Whoever they pick is probably not going to play anyway, just because of the personnel they got. And then with the Rangers, I'm curious to see what they do. They have the 12th pick, so they're kind of in a good spot, but not really in a good spot in the middle.
For the Rangers, that's a decent spot.
Yeah. They had a rough season. At least the pick is all right. We'll see what happens with them. But yeah, college, same thing. Nothing much going on just yet. But then with the Mets, so I know we're going to talk about baseball in a little bit, but I think I want to take a personal shot. Last week, I did say that I was very, very concerned with the starting rotation. And my concerns have grown just because they have, they've lost 8 out of their last 9, not playing good at all. Not any aspect of their game looks like a team that is serious about winning a World Series right now. And I'm going to be honest, what I've seen, it just doesn't look great. The pitching starting rotation, not getting deep into games, getting hit around. The bullpen, the last 3 spots in the bullpen, they rotate with minor league guys. Every day they brought up a new minor league player. You can't be doing that every day. It's just not going to work. And then the lineup. The lineup is the top 4, very good. Top 4 arguably could be the best top 4 in the league if you want to stack it up with every other team. But after that, it's not good. The bottom of the lineup has not done anything productive for the past week and a half. Can we stop? Can we please stop playing Jared Young? I can't look at the guy's face. He doesn't swing. He only DHs, and he does nothing for this team. Can we stop? I know he's a lefty. He's this and that. He's done nothing for them. He's never been a major leaguer before this year. Why does this guy have to be in the lineup consistently every day? I'd rather watch Starling Marte go up there and take 7 strikes in a row without swinging and smiling at there. That's what I'd rather watch right now. Because Jared Young is useless. And of course, tonight he is 0 for 2 because that's what he does. He goes 0 for the game every time he plays. He had a meaningless home run the other day, and like, oh, we got to get in the lineup again. Can we stop? Jared Young, please, we need him off the team. It's like reminds me of DJ Stewart and Danny Vogelback, guys that useless DHs that do nothing for this team.
The Mets,
yeah, and I just don't get it. And then Vientos should be back hopefully within the next couple of days. They need him to hit, like desperately need him to hit the baseball. Hopefully he can bat 5th or 6th depending on where they want to put him in. So it gives the lineup a little more length and go back to not obviously what he did last year in the postseason was out of this world, but at least show some signs of that. And then go from there. And then Jesse Winker should be on the way. Definitely a hell of a lot better than anything they put at DH recently. The DH spot has been, I mean, I think I can hit better than what they put out there, and I don't hit, so that shows you. Catching is another mess right now. I know we'll talk about someone in a little bit, but Terens is the starter for now. He hasn't hit either, so he's very good defensively, but he has not hit for the most part recently. Beatty has 2 hits tonight, but he hasn't really hit that much over the past few weeks. He's cooled down significantly. They brought up Ronnie Mauricio, who's supposed to be productive. He's hitting like 170, so that's not good. He's probably going to be sent down because he's going to struggle like this. He needs to get more reps in AAA. Excuse me. Acuna also was sent down to AAA, and this is somebody like I feel he's in a weird spot because yes, he can bring so much to the team, but he needs reps every day. He's very young, but yes, his defense, his speed brings a lot to the team. But him sitting on the bench 5-6 days a week is not going to do anything for his development, which is why they're in a weird spot because they have someone like Jeff McNeil who they feel like they owe to him that he has to play all these games, but he hasn't done that well. And then you have someone like Acuna who suffers from that. And we saw what Acuna did with regular playing time in the beginning of the year. He looked great, and now nothing really going on for him. We got to see what happens, but I feel at the deadline the team needs are starting to coming up a little more. Montas will be back tomorrow. Not expecting much from him. Manaea should be back the week after that. So hopefully those 2 guys can provide something for this team because the rotation's in shambles. Soto went deep about 5 minutes ago. That's nice. So it's 3-2 now. So hopefully they can pull this one out because the Braves are not good, but the Mets haven't done anything against them so far. And they really do need these wins. That's nice. Soto goes deep for his 17th homer of the year. And that's something actually I could be positive about. Soto is hitting and consistently hitting now, which is great. I'm very, very happy to see that.
The whole time.
Yeah, like I understand you're on a new team and everything, but at least it's going in the right direction now because I don't think any fan would have been able to watch that over and over again. But hopefully they can pull this one out. Very tight game. We'll see what happens. But we'll move right into the MLB. Shohei Ohtani, someone we actually highlighted last week. You said he was going to make his debut on the mound. He has since pitched 2 games. He made 2 starts, only 2 innings, which is exactly what we expected.
I was going to say, that's what we said. That's exactly what he did.
Like he wasn't going to go over an inning. Not just yet. He's going to take it slow because by the time the postseason comes, that's when they really want him to be, at the top of his game. But he still has looked good in he's in his outing so far. Honestly, he has. He has looked pretty good. I know his first outing. I think it was his first outing after we signed off last week. He gave up a run or whatever, but it was like 2 not great hits that he gave up. So I'm glad to see. Like, listen, I'm not a Dodger fan. I know you don't like the Dodgers either, but Ohtani pitching good for the sport, and that's
I agree. Yeah, good. Especially I don't like the Dodgers. I agree with you 100%.
Yeah, it's good to see him back, and we'll see what happens. But other MLB news: Cal Raleigh, 31 home runs. You would appreciate this. First switch hitter in the MLB to hit at least 30 home runs before the All-Star break, and this is a guy that's a catcher, a switch hitter. He does everything for this Mariners team.
Yeah.
Not the most athletic guy either. By no means does he look like an athlete. And he goes out there. I saw this. I'm like, damn, Biggie would appreciate the switch hitting aspect because we think of switch hitters in the MLB I don't know. Think of any good switch hitter. They're not really a catcher. Like being a catcher and a
No,
switch
you don't
hitter,
see that ever.
ever, and that just shows how talented he is. And 31 home runs. If actually a funny quote I saw from him was, he's like, "Only way I do the home run derby is if I make the All-Star game." Well, sir, you're definitely making the All-Star game.
You're making it, buddy.
Yeah, 31 home runs is crazy, and for a Mariners team that doesn't hit a lot, having someone like
we've brought that up multiple times.
Oh yeah, we've talked about that numerous times, and also this year they are hitting more, and their pitching is down, which is we talked about that. Staying in the catcher's realm, Francisco Alvarez, once a top prospect for the Mets, has had a really, really rough season. From the beginning, it started with a hamate bone injury, which is I think is in the thumb or wrist area on your hand. So it's very tough for a catcher. It's tough for a catcher to do anything when they're dealing with that.
I was gonna say you can't do much.
No, and it's very, very tough for him to come back. He came back in good time, but it didn't really seem like he was fully healthy. And then just over the course of the past few weeks, a number of just mistakes behind the plate, hitting his no pop in the bat, and that's what his coming out party of his rookie year was. He had 25 bombs. Like that was what he was supposed to do. If you remember, like that was his thing. It was like, okay, he's gonna hit for a low average, but he's going to provide pop, and none of that has happened.
Hasn't happened yet. No, not translating
down to AAA. Hopefully, he can figure it out down there and come back up because they need his bat. Like if he can hit, that puts the Mets in a good spot. We saw what he did in the postseason. He wasn't great, but he hit, and it gave them a different dynamic than just saying, oh, we have a catcher that can't hit once again. Let's bat him 8th and 9th, and we'll deal with it. If him hitting, he can be an easily 5-6 hitter for this team. So hopefully that goes in the right direction. And now, right before we hit our pick'em, we'll check in on the standings. Biggie, I'll let you take it away once again here with the American League.
All right, here we go. All right, so starting in the East, we'll start with the Yankees. Like I said, they have some concerns, but they're still in first. Tampa's catching up a little bit though. They're only 2.5 games behind.
Yeah.
The Yankees are 3-7 in their last 10. Again, more like that's what I'm talking about. Those concerns there. But yeah, so they're still in first. They're still, a solid roster, but they're not performing well at all. They really aren't. Like this is probably I'm looking at this right now. This is probably the worst first place team, if I'm being honest. Right in the last couple games, wouldn't you say so?
Like recently, yeah.
They're the worst team. Like even just look, if you look at the last 10 from everyone, they're the worst. They're the worst first place team right now.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, Tampa Bay's creeping up there. They are
the hottest team in the league,
and they're 7-3 right now in their last 10. So
I think they're like 22-8 or something like that in their last 30 games. So they are playing great
baseball right now. Yeah. So that's a team that can give the Yankees some trouble if these struggles continue. And then Toronto, they're 41-36, 4-6 in their last 10. Not much change from them. They're still, playing above expectations than what everyone had for them. Boston, the struggles are actually not showing. 7-3 of their last 10, still scraping above 500. They're 40-39.
Wild card mix.
Yeah, they're in the wild card mix still, even with Devers gone. So, that's a team that is kind of surprisingly playing well. And then we look at Baltimore. They're having a terrible year, but they are winning in their last 10. They're 6-4 in their last 10, but they're still far below 500. Not far, but you know what I mean. They're 34-44, not having a great year at all. It's sad for the Orioles, to say the least.
After what they did the last 2 years, too.
There was some hope. Yeah, I know. But let's move on to the Central. The Detroit Tigers, baby, 49-30. They are playing, good baseball. And
to say the least.
The Tigers playing good baseball. We love to see that. That's what we like to see. We love it. Detroit sports somewhat coming back in a sense. But they are 5-5 in their last 10, and it's still Cleveland is still 8.5 games behind them, 39-37.
I was going to say that changed from last week. Tigers were not that far ahead. Now they're creating a lot of distance.
Yeah, they're pretty far ahead now.
Yeah.
The Cleveland, they're 5-5 in their last 10, 39-37, just above 500. Kansas City, kind of in the same boat, but they are below 500, 38-40. The Minnesota, man, 1-9 in their last 10.
Yeah, they're
What's
not
going on
playing
with
great.
the Twins?
They fizzled out there. I kind of felt like that was going to happen soon. They were playing, I think, above expectation, and now they're falling down a little bit.
Yeah, they are. And then Chicago White Sox, 25-53. Still, again, we say it every episode.
Oh,
Still
better than last year.
Still better than last year. Yes, absolutely. And now let's move on to the West. The Houston Astros, 45-33,
Really
7-3 in the last 10. They're playing pretty good baseball right now, to say the least. Seattle Mariners, they're playing good too. They're 6-4 in their last 10, 39-37. They're a little bit above 500. They're not like way above, but they're playing good baseball. The Mariners are actually solid this year. Rangers 38-41. They are 5-5 in their last 10. The Angels, surprisingly, doing okay for the Angels.
Yeah,
they're
and
playing some decent games.
I was gonna say, I don't know if you saw. We actually forgot to put this in the notes. Ron Washington, their manager, had to take like a leave of absence because of like health concerns.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, so see what happens. See what
some more adversity for him there.
Yeah, see what they do with that, because you never
Yeah.
know. Sometimes teams they rally and then they come out from that, or they can just be in the blender and they're done after that. So.
Yeah, and then last in that is the Oakland A's. Weird season for them, 32-48, 6-4 in their last 10. But again, just a weird situation for the A's. Not great to begin with, and you're playing in a minor league stadium. It's a weird year for them. But hey, you can't really make that excuse though, because Tampa Bay is playing pretty well right now, and they're not in their home stadium. They're in a minor league ballpark too.
Yeah,
so
I was gonna say, and they're in lesser of a stadium than what the.
I was gonna say they are. They're in a spring training stadium, in a low A stadium. The Yankees. Funny enough, that's still funny.
That's I was thinking about this. I'm like, what if they come in, win the division, and then they play the Yankees in the playoffs at that park? Like, that's just so. Yeah, it's weird, but it could happen. But it's like, I'm like, man, they need to get themselves. I know the stadium got ruined.
I think Tropicana might be good for next year, but I think they're trying to get rid of the Trop.
Yeah, no one even showed up there. It was kind of a whole mess.
Yeah, and it's not even in Tampa. It's a whole thing. I can go on about that because I'm the stadium guy, but
hopefully they got to get something new for them.
Yeah, they do.
Let's take over for the National League here. We'll start with the NL East, which had a changing of the guard after this weekend, where the Phillies have taken over first place from the Mets. Phillies have been playing terrific baseball. The Mets
they should,
and that's what will happen when that's the case. And the Mets are only one game out, so they're in it, but they had a rough last week, 2-8 in the last 10, so a week and a half they've not played good. I talked about that before. One game out, and the thing with the Mets is they're so great at home, and the road they're not good. 27-10 at home, 19-22 on the road, so that just shows inconsistency. I don't know what it is on the road that they're not getting it done. Braves are at 35-41. This is a team that we talked about numerous times. Very capable of making a run to the wild card. I know the division's a little out of reach for them, but they can make a run. They're 7-3 in their last 10. They've been playing great. They're up on the Mets right now, 3-2 in the bottom of the seventh. So if they can do well, this is a 4-game series. So if they do well in this series, they're going to be right in the mix for the wild card, especially in the National League, where those wild card teams are they're not doing that great. They're over 500, but not anything to be like, oh, we have no chance. Like the Braves they're in striking distance. The Braves. Nationals 32-46, 2-8 in their last 10. They have had a really, really bad month of June after we hyped them up a little bit, saying they were kind of on their way. They have terrific young players, but they're just not putting it together right now.
Nope.
And they're tied now with the Marlins. That's how bad that the Nationals have been lately. They're tied with the Nationals for last place now. They're 6-4 in their last 10. Marlins are actually playing decent baseball for the most part, which I don't.
Yeah, and they're one of those teams that's just disappointing every year.
Yeah. They play good for little stretches, and then they of course they fall down as they usually do. The NL Central, Cubs are at 46-31, 5-5 in their last 10, so they're holding steady for the most part. Seems like the division lead is the same as it was last week, so they're playing good ball. They're not doing anything special, but they're not doing anything bad. They're just in the mix. Brewers in second place now at 43-35. Brewers have been playing a lot better, 7-3 in their last 10. Brought up a few prospects in terms of pitching, and that's turned it around for them, playing really, really well. Cardinals 42 and 36, 4.5 games out. So they're 1 game back from the Brewers. So they're jockeying for position there. They're 6-4 in their last 10. Cardinals, a team that has exceeded expectations across the league of what people think. So that's good for them. Then the Reds are at 40 and 38. They have been playing really good, but in the past 10, they've 5-5, so they're winning 1, losing 1. They're 6.5 out of first, so they're only 3 games out of second place. And this is a team that we've been saying that they can go on a run. Are they still beating the Yankees now, or they're not?
It's 4-1.
Okay, so they're still beating the Yankees, and then they also have Chase Burns making his debut tomorrow. So he's a flamethrower, and he knows how to pitch. He was a stud in college, so he's up now, and it's going to be a very exciting time for the Reds and see what they can do. They make the postseason with that young rotation. I would be scared to play them. And then
I agree.
Yeah, very, very capable team. And then the Pirates, 31 and 48. They're 3-7 in the last 10. I watched them play yesterday a little bit on TV, a few innings. And I was like, okay, I'm not. This is not good baseball. Let me shut this off. And then the NL West, the NL West, the Dodgers leading in first place at 48 and 31, 7-3 in their last 10. Giants are at 44 and 34, so they made a little bit of a move since getting Devers. Haven't been great in their last 10. The offense actually has not looked good since Devers joined them, but they're still they're playing good enough. And then the Padres, third place at 42 and 35. They're 5 games out of first, just a game and a half out of second. They're in wild card position as well, so within or in it, pretty much depending on tie-breaking situations and all that. They've been 4-6 in their last 10. And then Diamondbacks, 39 and 38. So they haven't really been good this year, and this is a team that we said that thought they would be better than what they were. And also, they have a few players that they can definitely trade at the deadline. So it's curious to see which way they go. Because when you're a 500 team, it depends how you got there. Like a Braves team, if they can get to 500 within the next 2-3 weeks, they may say, okay, we want to go out there and get somebody to help this team because we're going in the right direction. The Diamondbacks, it kind of feels like they've just been like in neutral pretty much for the last month.
Yeah, I know. They really haven't done anything.
They haven't really done anything to cement themselves as a playoff contender. So we'll see how they go. And then the Rockies, 18 and 60. So they do have 11 wins this month. So they have not been as bad as we clowned them
before started.
Yeah, so
they were my shock moment.
Oh my god. Yeah. 11 wins in 1 month, and they had like I don't even remember what they had going into it, but it was rough. 5-5 in the last 10. But MLB, you're gonna take charge for the next month, a little over a month. So hopefully, good baseball comes out of this. And All-Star game around the corner. Trade deadline is huge for the MLB. As we know, so that'll be coming soon as well. So a lot of good things happen in the MLB, and we need it because this is the only sport really going on right now.
Yeah.
But before we sign off here, we'll have our pick'em segment. Boys are 2-2. We should easily be 4-0. We've had the same picks for the most part. We lost 2 games. It was the Dodgers Padres game. We lost by 1 run, and then we lost the Panthers game 1 or game 2, whatever. No, not the Panthers. The Pacers, I should say. We picked the Thunder to win, and
to go up 2-0.
Yeah, so we're nailing our picks for the most part. Very easily can be 4-0. And for this week's pick, it's not tonight's game. It'll be tomorrow night. Phillies versus Astros. Ranger Suarez versus Framber Valdez. Great matchup, pitching matchup. 2 lefties that are having terrific seasons. Biggie, I'll let you go first, and then I'll take over after that. But it kind of feels like we have a little something different cooking here this week.
Yeah, we're a little different opinion here. I'm going to take the Phils to take game 1.
Okay.
I think the Phils are, they're at that point, they're in a point where they're playing pretty good baseball. They did have a little bit of a hitting drought, like not too long ago, like pretty bad. But they're starting to pick it up a little bit, and I think Ranger Suarez, it's going to be his night. Now, do I think they win this whole series? No. I think the Astros take the last 2 games, but I think the Phillies come out strong in game 1 of the series, and they take one from the Astros. It'll be a close game. I think it will, but I think the Phillies are at a point where they can not get swept in this series, and I think they shocked the Astros in the opening game of this series. But I think Houston will win the next 2, though. I don't think they're going to win this whole series. I think that they do get the first one, though, for sure.
Okay. And I like what you're coming from, but I just think that the Astros have been so good lately, and and Valdez has been Suarez has been even better than Framber Valdez.
Suarez has been doing well.
But Valdez is someone that is an ace type player. He had a down year a little bit last year, but he has been great. I think he's going to match the energy that Suarez goes out there. I think it's going to be a pitcher's duel to the end.
Yeah,
we'll win 6-4. So I think it's kind of going to be a Phillies bullpen implosion, which is something that Phillies
happens a lot. It does.
Yeah, I was going to say that the Phillies have one hole. I could say the Phillies do have is that bullpen is a little
for years now.
Oh yeah, it happened when they lost to the Astros in the World Series. It was kind of the same thing. They had a few guys they can trust, but then after that, it's just not a good situation in the bullpen. But it has gotten better for them. But I feel tomorrow night they will have a nice little bullpen implosion, and they will lose tomorrow night. But I definitely see with this series is going to be very, very good. I don't think it's a sweep. I think either team will win 2, and whoever wins, obviously 2 out of 3, and go from there. But I think it's going to be a really, really good series. But episode 49, we covered everything we had to cover. But we definitely had another great episode. I really like what we're doing here. I believe the All-Star. I'm trying to think of when the All-Star names will be announced. Because that's when I want to have CT come on. I think it would be good for
for that.
Baseball, a little extension of baseball when we get to that point. I think it's in 2 weeks because the All-Star break is the 14th, I think, of July. So it should be a week before that. I think they announced it or whatever. So we'll probably we can get CT going just for the viewers, so everyone knows CT, our baseball guy. Usually he just talks Yankees and Mets, but we'll expand his horizons, which no problem doing. He loves talking baseball, so we'll definitely do that. And maybe for the home run derby, we'll surprise the viewers with maybe a little watch party, something for the.
We shall see if we can. Absolutely,
we can do that because the home run derby is on a Monday. Always is on a Monday. So
there we go.
Yeah, if the schedule breaks right, because of course we're not always going to do the show on a Monday. It just works out this way for now. Yeah. When football starts, we probably won't be doing that just because there's a game on. There's no point in doing it while there's a game on. No one's going to watch us. They're going to watch the game. I know we have a lot of good things. I know we have a lot of good things to talk about, but not that good to pass up the football game. But before we sign off, Biggie, you have anything you wanna get off your chest here? I know you had a lot of things to get off your chest today.
And not particularly to any sports news about a personal thing that happened to me. Let's hope we can make up for it. Maybe I'll get to a game this Thursday. Maybe we'll go see that game in Sussex County, New Jersey. But again, they're calling for rain too, so I gotta keep an eye out, and I gotta see money wise and what's going on. But I want to get to a new stadium. So
I was gonna say, please, if it's any droplets of rain, don't even.
No. Oh God, no. I am after that. I am full locked in on everything. I am checking the weather daily, leading up to a day that I plan to go see. The minor league games, you can buy tickets the night of, and you're fine.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I was gonna be like, you can, if you really want to go to a minor league game and you check the weather hourly. Literally do it as soon as you wake up that day. Just keep looking through to see what you're dealing with, and then you can go from there. But because we don't need you to have any more chalk moments about a personal matter.
No, about my stadium traveling, which, as you know, I'm very passionate about. And it's a big part of what we do at TJ Productions. So
yeah, we need a shout out TJ Productions. Of course, we had it on the bottom ticker. If you haven't seen it, go out there and follow. A lot of good content. You have a lot of good content, man. A lot of different things, topics that he gets into, just themes in general, just going on. So
we go from sports, and then we go to original shows and everything. Yeah, I mean, we have 2 big events actually coming up this weekend. So Friday is the season finale of the TJ Show, our sketch comedy series that we've been doing now. Season 2 finale. It's a repeat of a season 1 episode that was really popular. It's called Music ... again. So we're doing another music parody episode. We're gonna do some. We have some another funny infomercial, another TJ Show music video where it's me, and you'll have to go see what song it is. And there'll be a preview of my brand new album coming out Saturday. Yes, if some of you viewers may not know, I am a musician. I've done everything. This album is more hard rock, and it's coming out at midnight on June 28th. This is Saturday. It's called Broken Chains. It'll be out on all streaming platforms. My 3rd album. And there's a little preview on the TJ Show the night before, so make sure you don't miss that. It'll be on the social media accounts for me. And, so just stay tuned for that. Big weekend for us. And after that, man, I'm kind of cooked on content. So I got to either start stadium traveling or start a new original show on top of this. You know what I mean? Because this is a 1 day a week thing, and it's through your channel. So I'm going to be in a little bit of a content drought besides Biggie's Banger of the Week, which is where I pick my favorite song of the week. And, we're going to be cooked for content. Just JD, me and JD mainly. So
yeah. All right. Listen, we've been putting a lot of good content out there, but of course you want to do any extra. But that'll do it for episode 49. Before I sign off, I just want to make sure everyone just go out there, follow every social media thing we got going on. If you missed tonight's episode, you can go out there and follow it and watch it and whatever you want to do. But for Biggie, I'm JD. See you, everybody.